Hi everybody, here's the next installment, right? Module C. So in this one we're going to be doing a couple different things. One of them is dealing with macros, and the other one is dealing with charts again. So right now with macros, first of all, a macro is automating worksheet tasks, basically. Automating a worksheet to do things for you so you don't have to keep doing it every time. So for instance, if you wanted to press Control Shift and the letter G, that could make you have an entire title, heading, everything formatted, increase font size, page layout, the whole shebang, all of it at once, just based on that one key click. Okay, shortcut keys. So what a macro is it basically does stuff for you. You click a button and a whole bunch of things happen. Okay. And the whole purpose of this programming stuff is to make the computer program do things for you. So that's why making macros is very beneficial. So in order to make a macro, the first thing you have to do is plan a macro. In order to plan a macro, you want to decide what you want it to do for you first, because you got to think it out before you're actually creating it. So before you even do that, you have to go up to the File tab here. You're going to go to Options, all the way at the bottom. And once you're in Options, you want to go to Customize Ribbon. Okay. Now right now, this right here, the Developer tab is by default off. Okay, the Main tab, Clipboard, all this stuff, Insert, Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review. This is all what we have normally. Okay. I'm going to show you what by default it is. So I already had it turned on, so this is what it looks like normally. Page Layout, Formulas, Data, Review, View, Team, right? Right here, again, File tab, Options, Customize your ribbon. Remember, this is called a ribbon, right? We didn't see that since way back in the previous course, week number 1. So here are the main tabs, and inside of here, click on Developer. For whatever reason, it is always turned off by default. So you need to turn it on, make sure it's checked, click OK, and you can see you have a Developer tab. Inside the Developer tab, you have other options here. And really what we're going to focus on is going to be the code group and a little bit with the controls group. Okay, so inside of here, you can click the macro security button also. In the code group, you're going to click on this, and you want to say enable all macros. Okay. If you enable the macros, it makes all macros that you have in a workbook actually work. Okay, because you're creating them, it will be safe. So you should be okay. Click OK. And then the next thing is, when we want to save these things, you have to save them as a certain way. So you're not going to save them as a typical file. You're going to save them as a macro-enabled file. I'll talk about that more a little bit later. So to create a macro, you need to first be able to press record. So right now, you're in the code group, under Developer tab, code group, record. Okay. When you click on record, you have a name. So I might say this is title and heading. Okay. Shortcut key, Control Shift G. All right. So every time I press Control Shift and G, this will happen. Store it in this workbook. You want it in this workbook. You could make a personal macro one that collects all of your macros that you ever make. This, in my opinion, is a little bit better. Put it in the one that you're actually going to use. Okay. Description, create a title and heading for the workbook. Worksheet. Let's say that. Okay. So now, if you look at this, it says stop recording. That means every single thing that I'm doing from now on until I press stop recording is being recorded. So, I'm going to start slowly building up this title, basically, title heading, CIS 118, professor, let's see, I don't know, compute, oops. Whatever, that's good enough. So at this point, if I'm going to go through and I could start changing all these things, format cell styles, I could say that's a title or something like that. Make it a heading number 1. These things, I can also make, oops, heading number 3s. They are now bold. I'm going to put background fill on them. I will make that red, also put background fill. Let's change that to a nice blue. I will auto size it and go back into A1. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the developer tab and I'm going to say stop recording. Okay. So now it says record macro. All this stuff that was done is all stored right here under title and heading as a macro name. So in order to do it, you would click on run. So I'm going to show you a couple different things here. I'm going to click a brand new sheet. We're in A1. I'm going to go to macros. I want that. I'm going to click run. And everything it did was super fast. I don't know if you guys got to see it. There was red writing for my name on here because that's originally what I started. So literally every single thing that I do gets recorded. Okay. If I get another sheet and I do the same thing. This time, I know I can't show this to you guys, unfortunately, but the only thing I could do is say, you could see my cursor is right here, and I'm not pressing any other clicks on the actual Excel itself, but I'm going to press Control, Shift, and G. I don't know if, you just got to take my word for it. Control, Shift, and G, and it automatically does the macro on its own. So that's what you want as far as that piece is concerned. It ends up giving you everything that you did, including changing formats. It includes undo, redo, things like that. Anything that gets done that you've done while it says recording, it's going to record. So now inside of that macro button here, I'm going to show you guys, there's something that says edit. You can edit things. And if you click edit, don't get scared by it. This is from C++ code or Visual Basics code, okay? So what it basically does is it tells you what the keyboard shortcut is, okay? Control, Shift, and G. This is the actual coding and everything else. So what you can do inside of here is change whatever you want to be shown. Maybe I say Niagara CCC, County Community College from that, or Niagara County CC. And I say I want a space in between that, okay? So that's the actual code that's going on in here. Maybe that's all I change, okay? I still want to do auto column fit, right? That's fine. So at this point, I want to press the red X. And I know it sounds funny because you're not actually saving anything. And it drives me crazy sometimes when I do this because I didn't save it. And yet I'm supposed to trust it when I X out. Yes, it's okay. For recording macros, it is okay. So now that I'm in here, I'm going to go again back to here. I'm going to go to macros. That's the macro I had. I'm going to click run. And it changed whatever I changed. I put a space here and I changed that name, right? So whatever I changed, I was able to change the macro. So that's the benefit of these things, okay? You can modify them. And don't go crazy in changing a whole ton of stuff, but you can modify them, okay? Questions, please definitely email me on anything. Now for macro names, I'll make another macro. You can name certain things. I'll give it, I don't know. Title 2. Okay. Notice I have this underscore right here. You can't have a space in the name. Okay. So you got to make sure you always have it all set to go. Let me go to Control, Shift, and D. Okay. We always add the Shift in there because Control C is copy, Control V is paste. But if I did Control Shift in C, it would be okay. So you get less overlaps of those types of things. I click OK. I can actually go into page layout, put in a header of whatever the file name is. and then I will go and close it. Stop recording. So if I go to sheet 5, you can see I have nothing in here, right? So I'm going to do both macros. I'm going to do title and heading. I'm going to say run. It did that part. I'm going to do title 2, run, and it just inserted my file name into the header. So again, it's the benefit of doing this is you make it do the work for you, okay? Now, the last thing I want to talk about with headers here, or with macros here, is assigning buttons. You can actually make the buttons do things for you. So, for example, again, developer tab, controls group. If you go to insert, we're going to go down to these form controls here. Form control button, okay? That's what you're looking for over here. Developer tab, controls group, under insert, okay? Upper left, form controls button. Okay, you're going to click on button. So right here you have this random button that's here, okay? Which button, now I didn't make this, I tried to put a button right here, and it's saying, hey, which one do you want to assign it to? Well, I can make this get assigned here, title and heading, and say, okay. That means every single time I do this, and you can rename this, title and heading macro. Okay. Once I click off of it, though, now it's a button. See how I get the finger to click? So now it's a button. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of that, and I'm going to click the button, and now it does everything for me. Okay? So that's doing a button. Also, if you don't want to use these insert buttons, you want to make something fun, you can always go to the Insert tab. You can go to the Illustrations group and click Shapes. Okay? You can pick any picture you want. Doesn't really matter. I don't know. Let's do a smile face. Okay? When I right-click on this thing, I can edit it. You can write inside of it. You can see. Okay? So maybe I say, what is this? Headers macro. Okay? I'm going to right-click. I'm going to say format it. And you have all these options up here too. Say you want your fill to be, clear, anything like that. The outline, the effects, it doesn't matter what you want to do for it. So anything like that, you can have fun with it if you choose. Dotted lines, whatever. Okay? So once I click off of it, this is just a picture. It doesn't do anything right now. But if I right-click and I go down to the bottom part here, it says assign a macro. So I'm going to assign title 2. Right? Click OK. Now when I click off this piece, see how you get the finger piece again, the clicking finger? Now it's a clicking finger, now it's a clicking finger. So I'm going to delete this. Now there's nothing inside of here. I click the header, and it puts it back in. Because now I assigned the macro. Again, right-click, assign macro, pick which one you want to use. Okay, so there's two different ways you can assign buttons to these things. You could use the shortcut keys, the Control-Shift-G, Control-Shift-D, whatever we ended up picking. Okay, you can use the buttons where you assigned it, or you can go to the Developer tab, press Macros, and click Run for whichever one you choose. Okay. The very last thing I'm going to say about these things, I mentioned it earlier, is you must save these things as a macro-enabled file. So when you go File, Save As, okay, this has to be not an Excel workbook for Save As type. You have to go right below it, Macro-enabled workbook. If you don't have that XLS M, that M stands for macro, it will not allow this to actually work. So when I click Save, M, right? That's what it is. That's what the key is at this point. It's a macro-enabled file. That means that this is actually allowed to run these macros. Okay? That's really it for macros. Automating worksheets, it's short, sweet. Developer tab, record, do what you want, press stop recording. Insert a form control button, or you can go insert different shapes, right click, and assign a macro. That's all there is to it.